at those figures. On the revenue side of things, the increase was 2.19% in its entirety of revenue. We looked at our user fees. The rec department committee decided to look at all user fees. We've adjusted accordingly and raised where we thought that people could swallow increases and where we could use those applicable to the facilities that we have and the services that we offer. And you'll see on the revenue column, in total, it's an increase of $16,554, which includes a village and town contribution. The only thing that we took down was probably, hopefully optimistically rather than pessimistically, we took down the fact that last summer we had an abysmal summer as far as the beach went, with lifeguards and people on the beach running for cover from lightning and thunder and rain more than they were running down on the beach, which affected our user fees as far as pavilion rental, car parking, and the number of the footfall, total footfall with the beach. So we just thought we would take that revenue down slightly, and because of what we did last year versus the budget that we had put in place. The other figures we took up, we took ice rental up, we took the softball fees up, the beach fees in theory, we looked at them as well, and it came to a 2.1.9% increase in revenues overall. On the expense side, the total expenses, total across the board, contractual and personnel, was at 2.12% increase, and that we weren't hit as bad as was maybe anticipated with the magic numbers that the village treasurer supplies: retirement, social security, workman's comp, life insurance, unemployment, health insurance. That, the biggest hit was workman's comp, which has affected the village across the board, I'm told. And that was a $7,762 increase in our budget. Other than that, the numbers weren't totally out of order. So, and across the board, the only increases at all are 1.9 or 1.8 or whatever they happen to be overall with any personnel services that went up doing contractual. And that's it across the board. In theory, the town contribution on this March 20th mayor's budget went up 3.5%, and the village contribution 1.4%.
I might add, you do an exceptional job down there. The ice is probably second to none in the industry, and we appreciate what you do down there. You and your crew.
Appreciate the support. There's obviously support here today. You'll see different people in the crowd.
Would you like to introduce this fine gentleman with you?
Well, the board is George Trippany. Martha Slack is not present. She wasn't able to be here. Mr. Don Horan, Commissioners David McLennan, and George Hamill, the henchman of the Recreation Commission. Martha's not here. That's the strong. I would point out that the support is nice where it is in the village and town, and I think there's a lot to be proud of. It's not all about hockey, because we've now got new basketball rims have been delivered, and we're trying like mad to get a tennis league in town this summer. And I would point out little things like, the way College already helped us out with the beach. That's very well appreciated. We have a pristine beach a lot of people admire as well. And if it was in any other part of the world, it would be, cars would be parked here at Waddington on any given day. I've seen that in other parts of the world. We're really lucky to have that. I think the backup that we will see some minor hockey jackets and high school jackets in the crowd today, and I think they're here as just moral support for the recreation department in its entirety. And I think, one last comment would be that we have, a small economy here in the North Country, and we have a high school hockey team that again came back into town with the police and fire department, which is another honor for them to be state champions. And Ken Hurlbut's here from the high school team, which is nice to see. And we got minor hockey jackets here. We had 3 teams under the age of 16 competing for national championships 2 weeks ago. It's pretty outstanding in this day and age. And there's a hell of a lot of pockets of money in places where each time I go, there's a hell of a lot more money, but the bigger numbers, these numbers really big. So that's off to the people. The figure skating show that ended the season normally has 140 participants. A lot of them are mainly from Montreal and the Quebec area. There were 225 in the Massena invitation figure skating competition as well. And there's a lot to be said for the backup to that, because our hotels get used, the restaurants in town, Coach's Corner, Vino Vidi, Italian Affair, they're all beaming with people. Heart Haven gets used heavily, and our concession revenue goes up generously, which is nice.
before the meeting, just to let everybody know, I received a call from Jerry, help me out with Jerry, with the.
Yeah, he's trying to start a new program.
The new pro hockey team here, and, he is very supportive of what,
That's in
what's
speculation.
going on, but, he assured me that if they're probably not, about 90% sure that, Massena is gonna be the location of choice. I don't know if you've spoken to him recently.
That's one. And they're trying to formulate a new league, and it to be sort of a different appeal to it than the other league that was in existence 2 years ago. So, that's where we are right now, as far as, your budget is concerned.
Thanks, Rich.
Are we allowed public comment?
I'll tell you what, I'll give everybody 5 minutes.
Hang on,
Before we get there, I got a question.
Go ahead.
What about draft 3, Rich? That's the one I'm looking
Yeah, okay.
Can I start with that? Okay. The town board has wrestled with, in previous years, with budgets as well, and the increases far greater than we would like a couple of years ago. And quite honestly, we oftentimes come back to, programs that may be utilized by only a segment of the population as opposed to sort of available to everybody. And one of the things, and that comes back, the recreation quite often comes up with that. And typically, our budget year falls in the middle of the village budget cycle, along with the rec commission. So, that said, we also realize the great work that's done at the arena, the positive results we see from the hockey program and things like that, and figure skating. And so we're always juggling between what is the taxpayer's responsibility and what is the personal responsibility of families and kids that participate in the program. And I don't really want to see a shift to that. But what I did was, when we saw the draft that came out in your budget, Mayor, I went back to Rich and the rec commission, and I said, you know, appreciate the work you've done in this budget, it's pretty slim. Can you cut it even more? Can you tighten it up even more? How close can we get to a flat budget, no increase? Much to their credit, Rich's credit, as well as the rec commission, went back to the drawing board, sharpened the pencils, did a little bit more work, and they were able to make some cuts to submit, and for what Tim is referring to as the third draft. And we greatly appreciate that, and that is, the town, at least from the town standpoint, greatly appreciate that. And it actually ends up being a bit less of an impact on your budget as well as ours. So, I've shared this draft with the town board via email, we've not discussed it collectively. We like this third draft, I think you guys get copies of it as well. It doesn't gut the rec program by any means, does it make it a little tougher for them to do their job? Yeah, it does, I'm sure it does. So we asked them to tighten their belts, they did that, and we're very appreciative of your efforts on that. I think I expressed that in an email to you and the commission. Sorry for my back, but, so we appreciate the work you did. And we like, no offense to you, Mayor, but we like the most recent budget a little better than the draft that was in your budget, because it is a little tighter, and I don't know, you know, if you want, we wanna ask Rich to explain that, where we end up with, but there were some changes that were, it may only be a percentage point or two, or point and a half here, or half a point there, but they make a difference in the bottom line, and we appreciate that. So, there is some additional revenue included in the third version of the budget, as well as some, almost $44,000 cut in expenses. And that does indeed end up affecting the bottom line, so that we would have a relatively minimal increase from both the town and village share, going forward in the new year. So that's, I guess, where I'm coming from, when I think the town board, is in agreement based on previous discussions we've had during our budget cycle back in the fall. So we like the latest budget, and we appreciate the work you did to get there, and again, we know it's tougher for you, and as the village is, you know, just talking to BDC about that, you guys did the same thing, and we appreciate that. So we're in favor of the third version of the budget.
Third version, okay.
The latest.
Obviously, go ahead.
To me, there's a misconception out there that all the recreation is for hockey in Massena. But,
Right.
as I look around, I mean, they do a lot for every maintain outside rinks for those that, just wanna skate in their neighborhoods or whatever. The summertime, they run a real awesome, summer rec program that helps many of the, underprivileged in this, community that, would not see the beach in the summertime if it wasn't for that recreation program. I've been out to the beach at different times when, the summer rec program is going on, and, a lot of kids out there from every neighborhood in town. So, I think, you know, the rec program is one thing that, keeps a lot of kids off the streets. And if we didn't have it, where would those kids be? What, you know, they would be up to no good at some time. So I think, the rec program, every dollar we spend on rec is a good dollar spent by this community. It helps this community out because, if we didn't spend it there, our chief sitting in the back, he would have to contend with a lot more issues, so. Thank you, Rich.
This budget and every budget that they submit after this budget, a lot of times we forget that in an age when everything has to be fully staffed and so on and so forth, the Recreation Commission and Rich had a retirement and chose not to fill that position. So this budget is where it is now, partly because of that, but that's a big chunk. If they had said, we need that other person, we cannot do our jobs without that other person, this budget would be significantly higher, because not only in salary, but in benefits that go along with that. So they've done a fantastic job, as far as I'm concerned, with their budgeting and budgeting requests. And I'm not disagreeing with you, Francis, but I think everybody knows it's not just about the hockey, because, you know, all of those things, and you're forgetting the beach and the playgrounds and all that go along with that. So they do a very, very good job on a pretty thin budget.
Anything softball fields at Bushnell and Alcoa?
Is that it from anybody else have something?
Rich, do you have a number of kids that are involved in summer rec?
200. We have
Over?
over 200. We have a therapeutic rec program for anywhere from 200 to 100.
And that's been pretty steady for the last,
It's a
how many?
six-week program. It'll be June 30th through whatever that equates to, about August 5th this year. They rent rooms. We get rooms from the high school. We pay for bus drivers, diesel, and the routes. We use Jefferson, Nightingale, Madison, and we use Alcoa Field outdoors for rec groups. Therapeutic rec group has one supervisor and two to three part-time summer kids. That's 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock every day of the week, Monday to Friday at Jefferson. The rec program is 9 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon. The kids go to the beach every day after lunch. They are all day at the beach on Wednesday with a free lunch sponsored by anybody from Hannaford's, who do a great job for us, and Pepsi. Henry cooks hot dogs for the kids on Wednesdays. Fridays are activity days. It's the only day, if at all, they're asked for any money. It's $1 or $2. One Friday is a matinee at the movie theater, they get dirt cheap. One day is miniature golf out on Route 56. One day is 10-pin bowling over at Bullmore. One day we put them skating at the mall. And so there's different activities as well.
The 200 has been steady though over the last.
The thing is, we're a drop-in, drop-out program. We're not a summer camp as such, that's regulated and designated as one by New York State. So it is, you sign in, you sign out, there's official forms, nobody can just walk in unless they are officially signed in by a parent. And we have 10 summer rec leaders, boy, girl, and 4 different groups, an arts and crafts person. And they monitor the kids in and out. It's pretty steady.
Thank you.
Another thing along those lines, I would say, when Rich came here, he was tasked with, one of the misconceptions was that after the hockey season, the arena closes. There's nothing going on in the arena. This part of your informational sheet shows everything that's going on with the arena. When the ice comes out of the arena doesn't shut down. And he's increased this. That all brings revenue, and it's ancillary too, as he's saying. Restaurants, all of those types of things with the, they let George do the, George Hamel do the frog jumping. They let him,
Would you like to demonstrate for us?
they let him do
Oh,
the
that's
fish, but he
ribbon?
couldn't fish. He couldn't catch any
Could you
fish.
demonstrate, George?
No. But, and
Two Georges.
another thing is that the arena's closed only 2 days a year. So, it speaks for itself, I think.
And we have a new staff member here as well. Way behind Mr. McCullough here. Would you like to introduce our
Oh,
new
yeah,
staff
yeah,
member?
administrative assistant, Nikki Davian.
Good luck to you.
She was warm.
It's actually well said.
Yeah.
I'm good with draft three. Did you guys know what draft three is? It was emailed.
Yeah.
Tim, do you want me to, at the start, want me to break down that question that you asked?
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
good.
Let me real quick, just,
Two sheets.
I know there's some folks that want to add comment, so Karen, you had your hand up first, Karen,
I am
in the
here,
back row.
mostly for hockey.
Would you please stand and name and address, Karen, please?
Sure, I'm Karen Chauvin, 7 Windsor Road, and I'm president of Massena Minor Hockey. I've had the pleasure of being the president for the past 5 years, and during those years, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with Rich, scheduling the ice slots for all of our minor hockey teams. I might add that the only ice slot that went out to the mall this year was one team, one time a week, because of the problems with the mall's ice. The ice at the arena is top-notch. The staff at the arena is top-notch. Nikki is top-notch. She is a fabulous addition to that staff. The only problem that I've encountered with all of our scheduling and everything else is that there's not an 8th day in each week. I'd be able to fill every slot of every day with the ice. All of my teams want to be at the arena for every practice, they want to be there for every game, and unfortunately, we can't accommodate that. Here I am shaking, I don't want to shake. We must be doing something right. If any of you watched the Frozen Four and watched Matt Hatch and his Union College Dutchmen win their championship, it was absolutely amazing. Our very own Bobby Smith has a whole sleeve of state championship patches. I tell him now we have to start on the other sleeve. He's taken teams from our minor hockey program, our St. Lawrence Thunder teams, to the national tournaments for the past 5 years. It is unbelievable. He has placed second in that tournament for the last 3 years. This year, we also had our midget team coached by Josh Bartell go to the national tournament. We too returned home with the silver medal. It's unbelievable. I was in Las Vegas this week for my older son's national tournament, and a boy from El Paso, Texas, noticed John Paul's jacket, asked if he was from that team in northern New York. He had played up here years ago, and he had been coached by Josh Bartell. Fond memories. It is unbelievable what this hockey community is all about. And of course, our Massena varsity hockey team brought home the state championship this year. We could not have done it without all of the ice slots at the Massena Arena. So to think that you are negotiating with Dick's Sporting Goods to come in here and change all of that is absolutely ludicrous, Jimmy. Absolutely ludicrous. Whenever school is closed or we have an early dismissal, the first words out of my son's mouth and all of his buddies is, "What time does shinny start?" Rich can't get them in there early enough, and then they stay until they have practice or whatever. It is a great environment for our youth of this community, a positive environment, and you cannot take that away. It's a community gathering place for events other than hockey. We've already talked about the frog jumping contest and everything else. And that parking lot is always overflowing. So to even get into discussions with a retail outlet that has nothing to do with Massena other than wanting to get rich on our money is absolutely ludicrous. And Jimmy, you thought that your tattoo and pitbull comments tarnished your image? You close that arena, your political career is over.
Let me set this record straight for you, Karen. That was Plan A that came to us. We asked for a Plan B right away. Okay, so I was gonna set this record straight on that. And I do take pride in my pit bull and tattoo. But anyhow, it's a joint commission, okay? I don't have the authority to make that decision, because it is a joint commission between the town and the village, okay? So the arena, in our opinion, wasn't going anywhere.
Well, that's funny, we keep quoting the newspaper, but that was a lot of what the comments were in the newspaper. We can't even take the annex away, that annex is being used all the time too.
Now,
That's the kind of question we need to, perhaps we should broach that tonight, is the plan B out there, at the annex, but.
that's why I think we're here tonight to discuss that very thing. But before we get, anyone else have anything to say? Seeing no other hands? Okay. Go ahead.
Just a couple of things, and not so much about recreation, when it comes down to the budget, as much as the split, and the 60-40 split that we've been using for recreation, and it's been touched on in the paper, and other media, about how we arrive at that number when it comes to assessment. And that the village's 60% typically does not include the portion of the village that's in the town of Louisville, what we call West Massena. And as we all know, the assessment there is pretty significant. And as a town board, I think I can speak for everyone when I say that we feel that we believe it's inappropriate for residents of West Massena to, in essence, get a free ride on recreation. What the rationale we've been told from some of the village staff is that, well, you know, the village covers all the administrative costs for recreation, for the employees, for other aspects of the recreation operation. And that may, and that was the reason that West Massena was never included in the assessment split. If that, I guess, is the rationale, then I think we need to include those administrative costs in the recreation budget, and then include West Massena assessment in the assessment split when we talk about the 60-40. I just think it's unfair, and perhaps, I'm not a lawyer or an expert on municipal financing, perhaps illegal for folks, residents of West Massena, the village residents in the town of Louisville, to pay nothing, virtually nothing, toward, nothing, I guess this is the right word, toward recreation. They're in essence getting a free skate, and it's just not fair to other residents of the village who happen to be in the township, as well as residents of the town outside the village. We've made an informal request, informal inquiry to the comptroller's office. They believe that if the joint commission, when it was founded, when it was established, said it's gonna be split between the village and the town, and the village includes all of the village, including West Massena, including the portion that's in the town of Louisville. So we believe that the only fair way to, and I think we were talking several, only, people are gonna say, oh, it's only several percentage points, it's gonna be, you know, 63, 37 or something like that. But it amounts to real money. And we also believe that cooperative agreements should share the burden, share the benefits and also share the burden. And we think it's unfair to residents of the town of Massena to expect that people who happen to be in the town of Louisville and also within the village boundary don't pay toward recreation. So, we would, I guess, like to request that we include, I don't wanna say demand, strongly request, that we include West Massena assessment in when it comes time to speak to the 60-40, whatever, the appropriate split in the cost of recreation.
And if I may, just